I'm Greg Hepperly. Today is Monday, November 22nd, 2021. These are my grandparents. This is Grandma Dutch, Grandma Mary, and Grandpa Nick. And this is our story. We love every single one of you. Merry Christmas. All right, we'll start with you, Grandma. Could you tell us your full name?
Mary Aguilera Flores, or Flores Aguilera, whatever.
Okay. And Grandpa?
Nicholas Aguilera
Barrera.
Okay. When were you born?
September 8, 1932.
May 3rd, 1932.
32. Long time ago.
Yeah, long time.
Where were you born, Grandma?
Mason City, Iowa.
Mason City. What hospital? Do you know?
Story Hospital.
Story Hospital.
They knocked it down now. It was across from the YMCA on the north side.
Okay.
There was a hospital there. It looked like a house, but that's where I was born.
Okay.
You know.
And Grandpa, where were you born at?
I was born in Mexico,
Where at there?
a town named Vista Hermosa, Michoacan.
Okay. And where were you born at? I guess was that at the hospital down there or
No, at home.
at home?
Yeah.
Okay. And what were your parents like? What were your parents' names?
My dad was name was Petronilo Aguilera,
Okay.
and my mom's name was Rosalia Barrera Quiroz.
Okay. And how about you, Grandma?
Well, my mom was Emma Gallegos Trujillo,
Okay.
and my dad was Joe. Now I can't talk.
Okay.
Joe Flores Amezcua.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 9, but 2 died when they were little.
Okay. And 9. How many of each?
4 boys and 3 girls.
4 boys and 3 girls.
That's what we have after the 2 of them died, you know.
Okay. Did they pass away when they were like babies, or was it?
Yeah, one of them was just born a couple of days,
Okay.
and the other one was about 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Grandpa?
Oh, we were 9, the first family,
Mm-hmm.
and my brother Joe Jose, and then 2 of my siblings died between him and me.
Okay.
When I was born, they were already gone.
Yep.
So we were 6 left,
Okay.
3 boys and 3 girls.
3 and 3. And were you the youngest or
No, I was the second.
second
The
youngest?
oldest of the 6.
Okay. And how about you, Grandma? What?
And see, it was the 4 boys, and that'd be, and then another little boy, and then it was girls.
Okay.
2 or 3 girls.
Okay. So you were the first girl.
The first one.
You were the first girl.
Right.
Grandpa, what was it like growing up in Mexico?
Great. I had fun when I was growing up.
Yep.
I had plenty of horses to ride. We had 3 rivers right next. We used to go swimming all the time.
Oh, wow.
Me and my friends, you know, and one were running through town like that we do here.
Yep.
And then the South River was an interstate river. The one north was also interstate river. That was a big one.
Oh, wow. So you spent a lot of time riding horses and then swimming in the rivers?
Swimming in the rivers.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun. And I mean, were the horses your like the family? Did you have a big ranch or what was it?
Well, we were farmers.
Okay.
In fact, the whole town was farmers.
Okay.
And we rode horses
Thank
wherever
you.
we went. We didn't have cars or
Yep.
wherever we went we went on a horse.
Okay. So did your dad work as a farmer then there? And
Not my dad. My dad was a electrician,
okay.
and he did a lot of things. And he worked fixing things. He was a fixer-upper.
Okay.
Everybody hired him around the small villages
Yep.
to fix about anything.
They knew that if they needed something fixed, they'd call him to come do it.
Well,
Okay. Is that what made you become an electrician later on? Is that kind of why?
probably I heard it.
Yep.
Well, in fact, I worked for him when I was about 15. He was the head of that electric plant here in their town.
Yep. Okay. And when did you move from Mexico?
In 1950, when I was 18 years old.
Okay. And was it just you that moved, or was it the whole family, or who?
No, just me.
Just
came
me?
with friends.
Okay.
A bunch of friends that we came all together.
Okay. And you came here to Mason City?
No, we went to Texas.
Okay.
And I roamed around Texas with different friends in different towns for a year before I come here with a family. They invited me up here to Minnesota. I said,
Okay.
I said, why not? I'll go to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So it's an adventure.
Yep. And what was, was it hard for you to move away from your family and to be gone like that?
Well, I didn't, not at first, but when I was up here, then I did miss them
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. And did you still have contact with them and stuff like
Oh,
that?
yeah.
You'd call on the phone, write letters and
I
stuff?
wrote them letters.
Okay.
And
And then you came to Mason City eventually.
eventually, we from Minnesota, Albert Lee,
Okay.
another friend of mine, he invited to come here to Mason City.
Okay.
So that's when we come.
Okay. And then that's when you met Grandma?
No, I met Grandma in Albert Lee in a dance.
Oh, at a dance. Grandma, were you supposed to be at this dance?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I was there, supposed to be there.
What was it like growing up in Mason City?
What was it like?
Yeah.
Mason City?
When you grew up.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was like. Yeah, we just, played with your friends and stuff, went to school.
Yep.
I only went to 4th grade, that's all I went.
You only went to 4th grade?
Yeah,
And then what happened after that?
well, we moved out of town,
Okay.
and we didn't come back till I was about 16, 17 years old.
Where'd you move to?
Well, to Mexico.
Okay.
My dad took us and my mom because his mother was over there and he wanted to see her. So after that, I can't even remember what I did after that. I didn't work. Yes, I did. I went to work at Mercy Hospital.
Okay.
And
What'd you do there?
I worked there for a while. Then I met Grandpa over there at the dance. And so then he moved back over here and we went together here.
Okay.
And he didn't have a car and I didn't have a car, so we took the bus all the time.
Fun.
And he would pay for me
He would?
when we went to the movie theaters.
Oh, nice.
And we had a bachelor, and he wouldn't pay for the bachelor,
Really? He only paid for you?
for me only.
Good. So this dance you guys went to, was it a normal thing? Was there always dances up there that?
In the summer, every weekend was
Okay.
a dance over in Albert Lee.
Okay. Was it at like the town hall, or where was this?
Armory.
At the armory?
The
Armory, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people,
Yep. And
Well, the
what?
Mexican dance, so,
Okay.
yeah.
When you were there, did you notice him right away, or did he notice you?
No, he can
I
tell
know.
his part.
I noticed her, I went around, all the girls just sat around. It was a big hall,
Okay.
probably maybe 100 girls.
Yep.
And when I come to her, I says, that's it. So I asked them to dance, and ever since then,
Really?
we went together.
And that was history after that? Okay. And you guys would go to the movies a lot and stuff like that since you couldn't?
Oh yeah, it's about a weekend.
Okay. And so you guys started going together. And what did you do at the hospital when you worked there,
I
Grandpa?
worked in the laundry room.
Okay. And where were you working at this time, Grandpa?
Well, at the time I worked part-time in the Hamburg Hotel,
Okay.
in the kitchen help.
Yep.
And then I worked at slaughtering turkeys. They call it a turkey farm.
Okay.
We were slaughtering turkeys.
Okay.
And worked for Deckers on and off because they
Always-
hired it for 2-3 days and then lay you off.
Okay.
2-3 days and then lay you off.
Yep, just when they needed it.
Yeah, well, just what I needed. And finally I went to Lehigh
To Lehigh.
in 1952.
Okay. And when you first started going together, what did your mom and dad think of Grandpa? They like him?
Yeah, they liked him. They
Yeah.
didn't say nothing. But he had asked for my hand in marriage.
How did that go?
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Was it, were you scared to do it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
He was a brave guy.
After how long were you guys dating before you asked Grandma to marry you?
About a year.
About a year. Okay. Why, you knew then that Grandma was going to be the one for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Why? Why'd you know that?
Because she was a nice person, beautiful.
Yep.
What else can you ask for?
Right? put up with you?
Oh.
That's what I found. Yes. No. Did you tell? I mean, about like your family? Would you tell them and write them about Grandma? And
Well,
did they
my
know all
grandma?
about?
Oh yeah.
Did they
I
know all
told
about her?
Yeah.
Okay. What did they think of Grandma?
Oh, they were fine. Yeah.
Yep. And did you guys get married here in Mason City?
In Mason City, yep.
Okay. Where at?
That's in the house of a private home where a preacher was.
Okay.
And
So-
then later on, about 5 years maybe,
Yeah, about 5.
we got married by the church, by
Okay.
the family.
Okay. Why did you do it in a private one first before going to a church?
The pastor. My sister-in-law arranged it.
Okay.
Yeah. She wanted us to go to Little Brown Church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't have a car. We couldn't get, there's no way we could go. So we decided that was the best way.
Okay.
And then, after we got married, we went back to the house and we had just a little party, a few little friends there. And
Yep.
then we bought tickets on the railroad tracks, in the railroad,
Yep.
and we got on the train to go to Chicago. My sister-in-law was helping me all the time,
Okay.
making arrangements where we were going to stay in Chicago in a hotel. And Harrison Hotel it was.
That was going to be your honeymoon? Is
Yep.
going to...
So all night we went on the train to Chicago. And that was our honeymoon, and we stayed over there, I think it was about a week,
Oh, fun.
and then we came back. Isn't that, you remember anything else?
No, we just have a lot of fun.
Yep. What was, what's your anniversary? What's the date of your anniversary?
July 26,
July 26. What year did you guys get married?
1952.
1952. Okay, so you would have been, what, 20 years old?
19.
19?
19.
19, you would 19
was
the same
20.
time. You were 20?
Yeah, it was my 20th birthday was May 3rd, and we got married the following
Okay.
August.
And after you guys got married, did you move in together, or where did you guys live?
Yeah, we rent a 2-room apartment.
3-room apartment?
Yeah.
Is that why you had a roommate this entire time too? Was this the bachelor you were talking about? That
No.
Or was it just you two? Just you two?
us.
Okay. What was that like when you first started out?
Great, yeah. We didn't have any money, but we were,
Yeah.
it was great.
Yep. What'd you guys do in your free time? Did you guys like to do? Go to the movies still and
Spend the evenings together and go to the movies. Not much to do in Mason City.
Yep. Okay. What was it like growing up with a Hispanic past and being from, Mexico and stuff like that? Growing up in Mason City and coming here, what was that like? Was it
For me,
tough?
was
Yeah.
a lot of difference between Mexico and here.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, my hometown is all farmers. They
Yeah.
all farm around. And like growing up, all the kids are the same age. We had a lot of fun. Everybody knew everybody,
Mhm.
the whole town. So it was a lot of fun growing up with them.
Yeah. Was there any hard times? Did you get any grief from anybody or anybody that
No,
didn't like that you were from Mexico or anything like that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And how long after you guys were married did you guys start having kids?
Right away.
Right away?
Right away.
Or a year later, a year and a half.
Not quite a year.
11,
Okay.
Nicky was born,
11 months.
something like that.
11 months, okay. And then, Nick was born. Okay. And then what was it like now having a baby?
Well, we had 2 rooms. 1 bedroom was everything. The bedroom was everything, living room, everything. And the kitchen, we just had a little door with just the stool. We didn't have no shower, no nothing. We had to get one of those pails, remember those steel ones, galvanized, and you'd fill it with water and take a bath.
That was your bath?
Yeah.
Oh. What was Uncle Nick like as a baby? Was he a good baby? Was he?
Well, he's a good baby.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. He wasn't too bad.
And then you were still working at Lehigh and doing that. Were you working at
Yeah.
any time?
No.
You stayed home with?
I stayed
Yeah.
home. I work with Lehigh all the time. Yeah.
Okay. And then how far after that was the next baby?
It was 11
Well-
months later,
11 months later was Aunt Rosie.
Rosie. Yeah.
How far apart is everybody?
Well, let's see. Rosie was born, I think, 11 months after Nick.
Okay.
And then David was about 3 years after.
After that?
Yeah.
After
Rosie was
Rosie,
born
after
in
Rosie.
1954,
And then
David was born in 1957.
Okay.
And then Esther was 60, so it was about 4, close
Okay.
to 4.
And did you name Uncle Nick after you then? Is that why you named him Nick?
I say that, yeah.
Okay. And then Rosie, what was
His mother.
After my mom.
Okay, after your mother. And then David,
It was
Was he-
just a
name that you liked?
We liked the name.
and then Esther
The
was
same
It
thing.
was
Same.
the same thing. We just like to pick a name.
Yep. What who was the toughest child that gave you the most grief growing up?
All of them.
You can
The 2 boys mostly.
Yeah, the 2 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up.
mostly David.
David. Was it because he was rebellious or was it just because
No,
he was
just a ornery little kid.
Yeah. The independent, like to do everything
Oh
yourself?
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Tuffy.
Tuffy.
Well, I think Rosie and Nick used to gang up on him,
Oh, okay.
so that's what I think.
See,
Yeah.
Rosie and Nick looked like twins. Everybody thought they were twins, the same size.
Oh, okay. Yep. And what was it like growing up? I mean, raising your family here. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. I mean, we weren't rich or nothing, but we had a job and we
Yep.
got along.
How long after you had Nick did you have Rosie in the same apartment when you guys lived there? Or did you move to a new house?
No, we moved to a different apartment.
Okay. And when did you guys purchase your first home?
Well, we had three kids,
1956 or 57?
56. 56. David wasn't born yet.
Yeah, no. We bought our first 2-bedroom home in 1956
Where was that at?
on 8th Street, northeast.
Okay. And so you moved into there,
Yeah.
and then you had David.
Right.
Okay. And then
And we had Esther
and
there.
Esther was there too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then did you raise them there until when?
Just about a year little over a year, Esther was, when we moved into 512, the one over by your grandpa,
Okay. Yep.
Lyle. Yeah.
And how long were you at that house for?
Oh, about 20 years or more.
20 years, 28 years.
Okay. And then you
Then
moved
we
over to.
Meadowbrook Drive.
Okay. And then.
We spent there about 15 years.
Okay. So did Uncle Nick, did he go to school?
He went to school here. He went to college to Nyack.
Okay.
Then he went to Iowa City for a while. Then he went to Hawkeye, for the cooking and stuff,
Yep.
you know. And he
Culinary school.
Culinary school.
Yeah, he got that. He got his degree there. Then he moved to Florida. Yeah.
Okay. How old was he when he moved to Florida?
After, I don't know, about 20-some years old, I would
Yeah.
think.
Okay. What did you think of that when he wanted to move to Florida?
Well, he had been on his own so long, you know.
You know, moving out of and going to the schools and stuff like that.
Just kept going.
Yep. How'd that make you guys feel that he was off doing kind of that
Kind of
stuff?
sad that he
Oh,
was
yeah.
going to see him for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would he keep in touch very often, or was
Oh,
it kind
yes.
Oh, yeah, he
Well,
called all
yeah.
the time.
We got him a car and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
and that so he moved down to Florida, and he was down there for a long time.
Long time.
And where at in Florida did he live?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. And he was a chef down there,
Uh-huh.
correct?
Yeah.
And he traveled a lot.
Oh, yes.
And he loved to ride his bike.
Right,
Yeah.
he rode his bike all over Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's all summer.
Yep. How often would you guys be able to go down and visit him?
Well, every couple of years, maybe.
Okay.
Either Grandma went up there, and then we went together a few times.
Mm-hmm. What's one of your favorite memories of Uncle Nick? You have anything that comes to mind?
I think all his life was a favor.
Yeah.
He was a good
Yeah.
son, a good kid.
And I just know that every time we talked to him, he'd have new stories.
Oh, yeah.
He was able to tell us all of his adventures and stuff like that. I know when he got older, when he finally came out and told you that he ended up being gay, correct? And did he tell you at that time he was sick too? Or when did you guys find that out?
Way late.
Later?
He didn't want to.
Okay. I can remember when I was younger, we were all up in Minnesota when this
Yeah.
happened. We all kind of had a family reunion.
Mhm.
And I remember we were all wearing different colors,
Yeah.
I think, and we had the photos and everything, and we were at that hotel. And I think that's when he had told you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what did that make you feel like when he
Terrible.
told you?
When he told us that he was sick,
Okay. And how old was he when he passed away?
56.
56. Okay. I still remember when my mom had got that call and that you guys all went down to Florida
Yeah.
together. And were you able to be there when he passed, Grandma?
I wasn't in the room, but I was there at
Yep.
the hotel
Okay.
because we left here Thursday, and I didn't sleep at all that night. And the next day we were with him, and a couple of days we were there, so we didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time the girls thought, you better go to the hotel and rest because you can't make it anymore.
Yeah.
I was just falling asleep.
Sitting there.
So
Was he able to talk to you when you guys went down there and met with him, or was he at this point?
unconscious.
Okay.
He was a support group.
Yeah. And then he ended up passing away, and then I remember we had the services for him and everything like that. And what's one thing that you wish you could have said to Uncle Nick one more time before he left, even though he's still here with us?
Well, I don't really remember.
Yeah. I always remember when he came up to when we were out in Washington, D.C., and he came up and took us out to eat. And we were at a big table, and you couldn't even see the table because he ordered so much food. He loved food so much. And so, I mean, he would tell us to try all these different things, and he was so into food, and would tell us his stories, and he had that laugh that would just, you could light up the room, and it was kind of that cackle, but it was so loud, and anytime you heard it, you knew where he was, and those are my memories, Uncle Nick, and always made with him.
He did that to us too when we.
Every time we took him to eat someplace in the garage, he just ordered every time.
Oh yeah, it was mountains of food. I remember it just was stacked up so high, and yes, and his stories, and I remember he always had that mustache and everything, and yeah, those are my memories, Uncle Nick, and it was always great.
He went to California with us.
He did. Yep, he went to California with us, and yeah, he was right there. He was laughing because I didn't want to carry my luggage. And I told it, was it him I told him to? I'm just a little boy.
Yeah.
Yes, we had some good times. So let's move on to Aunt Rosie. After Aunt Rosie, she went to school here, and then
she went to Hamilton, and she got her secretarial.
Okay.
Secretary degrees.
Yep.
And then she got married, and she moved to Minnesota, Minneapolis.
And then she had Stephanie and
Shelley.
And do you remember when she was pregnant with them? Did you go up there and visit her a lot up there?
Yeah, Stephanie. No, they were born here, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
The girls.
The
girls were here.
In City.
Okay.
And we used to go up there quite often to babysit them when you needed help. Take care of them. So we used to drive up there and stay whatever, 2-3 days or whatever was needed to.
Yep. Okay. And where did Aunt Rosie end up working at? She worked at
Honeywell.
And she worked there for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I remember going up there, and I remember being in the house that had the really deep backyard right in the. What house was that one?
That
was right next to that big sledding hill. That we'd always go to, and so
St. Louis Park.
Yep. And so she moved up there. How old was she when she moved up there?
I don't remember. I don't really remember what age she was.
Yep. And then when did she meet Jim?
Well, she got a divorce, and then she bought that house.
Okay.
And then when she was dating, I know that. And then she met Jim, but I don't remember when or how
or
anything.
What did you think of Jim when you first met him?
Well, he was okay.
Yeah.
I
remember he was always a jokester. Every time I'd always deal with him. He was always a jokester. You'd always tell me that, the golden hockey nets or the golden gloves and everything that he got from sports and everything like that.
Yeah.
What was Aunt Rosie's first husband like?
Domineering, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
And then they got a divorce because he was fooling around and stuff. So.
Were you happy when she?
I was angry.
Yeah.
Being such a good girl, which I think is natural to parents.
Yes. Definitely. But when she went out and kind of got that divorce, how old were the girls at that point?
Oh, well, how old were they about?
They were small.
They were little when they got the divorce. They were little.
Okay.
Maybe about 4 or 5, 6, something like that. They were little girls.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to go a lot to babysit.
Okay.
And help her out.
How were they growing up, Stephanie and Shelley?
Good.
They good?
They were fun. I used to have a lot of fun with them.
Yep.
We used to ride. I used to ride the bike with them all over the parks.
Okay.
We used to go all over the place.
What did it feel like the first time you found out you were going to be grandparents?
Well,
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting, nervous, all at the same time. Uncle Dave, growing up, he played lots of sports. He was a big
Yeah.
rugby guy, correct?
Yeah.
He did that.
Played lots of sport, baseball, whatever, any sport.
And
Played all.
what was he like growing up? You said he was ornery. Was
Yeah,
he?
Well, you say that, but it never never got into a lot of problems or
Yeah.
anything. But he was.
No, he wasn't that
He got
kind
into
of.
fights all the time with the other kids in the school. so-
Okay. And
I'd have to go and bail him out.
was he protective of his sisters and stuff like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and brother?
Well, not only that, his friends
Okay.
too.
He was always
He
very.
would stick up for his friends, especially if they picked on a certain one.
Okay. So he would get in some trouble at school then and stuff like that? Okay. Did he go to college after high school?
Yeah, yeah.
Where did he go?
We went to
He
Nyack.
went to Nyack and to Buena Vista. Was it Buena Vista?
Okay.
Buena Vista. Is that the one you?
After that, after Nyack, he went to Buena Vista College too.
Okay, he went to Buena Vista for a little bit?
Yeah, he got a degree in accounting.
Okay. And then after college, where did he go to?
Oh, he was running around with this girl when he was in high school. And they got married when he was only 18, 19 years old.
Hmm.
And that's when Justin was born.
Okay, that's when Justin was born.
And it didn't work out. So what did he do after that? He bumped around, I guess. Then he worked at Northwestern, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah, at that time. And played a lot of rugby. After high school, he always
Okay.
played rugby with her.
Oh,
Yeah.
when he was in high school, he was
Yeah.
really good at football. He got
Okay.
a lot of awards on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he did that, and with Justin and stuff like that, did you guys get to see Justin very often, or
No,
no? Not too much?
not as much as we would have liked to.
Yep. And he was raised, Justin was raised, is that Indianola? Is that where he grew up?
Yeah, he was in Indianola.
Okay.
We would go pick him up and bring him
Okay.
over here.
And bring him up here. What was, when you found out that Uncle Dave was going to have Justin and they got married, how'd that make you guys feel?
Well, we thought he was a little too young
Yeah.
to get married.
And did you voice those opinions to him, and what do you have to say about it? He was still going to go do it?
Well, he's going to do it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then after he moved around a little bit, what made him go up to Minnesota?
Well, after, let's
He
see.
went from here, he went to Arizona first.
Yeah.
Okay.
He spent about 3 or 4 years over there.
Okay. What was he doing in Arizona?
Well, he got married with Tammy.
And that didn't work
Over
out
here.
either, so she come back and they got divorced. And he stayed up there working on this chain.
Circle K.
Circle K. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a chain of
He managed
grocery
it.
stores and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And 1990, he come back, and that's when he went to finish over at Buena Vista College.
Okay. That's
He
when
got
he
all
went.
his records from Nyack,
Yep.
sent them to Buena Vista.
Okay. So when he came back, then he went to Buena Vista,
Yeah.
and then did the accounting, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, where did he go?
He went to Minnesota after
Okay.
that, and got a job at the financing.
Okay.
What he does now.
Yep.
So
And
he
lived
never
up
spent
there.
a day as an accountant. We tried to get a job here, but they weren't paying enough
Okay.
for him to do so.
Yep.
He went up there.
Went up there to do that.
So he
And,
got a job as
He met Ramona.
a broker,
Yep.
and that's what still do that now.
And then he met
That's where
Ramona?
Ramona.
Okay. What'd you guys think of Ramona when you first met her?
Oh, she was
fine.
okay.
She was good.
Yep. And then they had Novia and Nico.
Yep.
And then they lived, what was it? Burnsville?
Burnsville.
They lived for a while. I remember going up there and visiting them up there.
Yeah.
Yep. So we did that.
Yeah.
And then they moved to the Lakeville house recently and did that. So would you guys go up to the cities a lot and see Uncle Dave and Aunt Rosie?
Oh,
Quite a
yeah.
bit?
Yeah.
That's why we bought the trucks, because in the winter time, they're four-wheel drive, so
Yep.
when the storms, I've got a truck to drive back and forth.
Okay. So you could get, do you ever get stuck going up there?
None that I can remember.
Nothing you can remember? I remember we put, with that truck, we used to put like the air mattress in the back of it and we'd lay in the back and you'd take us on road trips. I remember we did that. That's another thing we would be shamed for if we did it again today, but I remember doing that in that truck. That was fun. Okay, and then my mom was the youngest one. Esther was the youngest.
Right.
And what was she like growing up?
Terrible.
Really? She was the baby, the young one?
Yeah,
I understand those
she
babies are
wasn't
the hardest.
A good kid. Yeah, great.
Okay, and so she went to school here, and then she went to Nyack, correct? And then did nursing there.
Yeah. Right.
And then she had met my dad.
Yep.
And they met while working at McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you think of him when you first met him?
Oh, he was okay.
Yep. It's okay. You can tell us all the good stuff.
That time I used to make a homemade wine.
Yeah.
And he would basically one time, and we started drinking a little wine, and a little more, and pretty soon he couldn't get up.
What was this?
So he called Gary to come pick him up.
To come pick him up.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
no.
right.
Oh,
And
that's
Gary
funny.
came.
Yeah,
Did
came
Gary?
pick him
Oh,
up, yeah.
Oh,
remember
funny.
that, Dutch?
No, I don't.
And when, what house were you in when this happened?
At the
512.
over
At
there
512?
on Main Street.
Okay. And what did my mom think of that when he couldn't get up and had to call for a ride? Did she blame you? Dad, what'd you do?
I never heard nothing about it. So it must have been okay.
You were in the clear, you didn't hear anything? Oh, funny. And then she started working at Mercy
Yep.
right away, and then did that for a while. What'd you think of her being a nurse?
It was good, because that's what I always wanted to be.
Yeah. And so she did that, and then they got married. How old was my mom? And
I don't know, about 22, 23, something
Somewhere
like
in
that.
there.
I think so.
And then when you found out my dad was going to be a police officer, what'd that make you feel like?
Oh,
Well, good.
it
Good.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. He was working at Pizza Hut.
Yep. Worked at Pizza Hut for a while, and then
Yeah.
then switched over to the police department and did that. And they grew up here. And
Yeah.
Then they raised us here.
Yeah.
And Chad came around, and then
Oh, yes.
Garrett.
Chad.
Then we spent a lot of time at your guys' house growing up. You guys would watch us a lot because he would be gone at
Wow.
work, and then
Well, he was working night evenings, and with these two guys during the day so he could sleep.
yep. And so we'd come down there and we'd hang out with you. And Chad liked to watch the sci-fi movies with you.
Well, that was a lot later on 1313. That wasn't
Okay.
a 512 anymore.
What
Yeah.
what do you remember from us coming over and doing all that? What do you remember from that time?
Oh, it was great. We had a good time. We had a good time since our kids were growing up, you know,
Yep.
taking trips and stuff, and it just continued with your mom
Yep.
doing the same thing. Rosie used to go once in a while, but not that often because she was alone. But it was family all the time,
Yep.
holidays and everything.
And doing all that. That's one thing I do remember, and that was always been instilled to me coming from both my mom and dad, and having you guys. It was always about family, and everyone would always be together.
Right.
And don't matter what the occasion was or why, or didn't have to be for anything, but when everybody got together, it was always fun.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was the hardest to watch out of me, Garrett, or Chad when you had to watch us? Who was the worst one?
Geez. You really want to me to be
Yeah.
honest?
You can say Greg.
I'm just kidding.
No, my parents always told me I was the sweet young little boy, but then
Yeah, you
once I
were.
got into sports, that's when it all went downhill. That's when I became independent. And
I know that once they came and told us that you had cracked your head open over there in the slide. He's bleeding, Grandma, and he is. Well, where is he? I think you went home or you
Yep.
went to...
yeah, we went home, so we went over to your house first, and then we went to the park that was right
Yeah,
back in there.
right.
And they had this old slide, and it was so, I mean, the park was nothing really. It was all run down, and there was a big cinder block that was in the ground, but it had been dug out from being
Oh,
used over.
uh-huh.
And so we decided that 6 of us were going to go down at the same time, and I was the last one, so when everybody went off, I went back,
Oh.
and I hit my head on the cinder block. And I touched the back of my head and I looked and it was all blood.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's when I ran home. I didn't run back to your
No,
house.
no. He's bleeding and he's over there at the house. He is. Well, he should come over here and tell him to come over here. Well, he doesn't want to. You
Then
scared, you were
I had to get
scared.
I thought I was going to get in trouble probably.
Right.
I remember we'd always come down and Grandpa would give us haircuts.
Oh, yes.
We'd always do haircuts in the basement.
Yeah.
And there was one time that my mom screwed up my haircut, so I had to put my hood on and had to walk down the street to Grandpa to get him to fix my haircuts. I remember we always used to do that in the basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other fun memories do you remember kind of from us growing up and all that stuff?
Well, you guys playing sports,
Yep.
baseball, any sport you guys, we had a lot of fun doing that.
Yep.
Watching you guys practice and all that stuff.
We spent a lot of time outside
time
playing
on it.
sports and
Fishing.
guys-
You used to take them fishing.
Oh, yeah, we used to take them fishing.
remember we had that picture in the paper when we were out at Nyack.
Nyack, yeah.
Yep, we
I
went
still
fishing.
have it.
Do you still have
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yep, we went fishing and we caught. Yeah, they took some pictures of us out there
And
fishing.
Grandpa's teaching you how to
Yep, throw the lure and everything.
the
And
lure. And
we used to go down to what's the park? The big one that's got the river.
East
That
Park.
East Park. Yeah, we used to go down to East Park and go fishing every once in a while too. And Big Blue, we'd go to
Big
Big
Blue,
Blue a
yeah.
lot and go fishing
yeah.
together. Those trails back there, we'd always
Mhm.
ride our bikes and everything. And I think that was a big memory, is always being able to just walk down the street and go to your guys' house
Yeah.
and being right there. The tortillas and cheese, the playing cards. We
Oh,
bet
yeah.
the farm. We'd always play cards
Oh,
together
yeah. You wanted to bet the farm all the time.
all the time.
You lost it.
I wasn't good with
And
my.
you would lose it, and then I don't know how you got it again.
I
Back.
just kept going. I'd lose it and have it all the time. What family trips do you remember going on?
Oh, we remember most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go to, like Mary said a little while ago, we used to go to different states. I tell the kids to pick a different state for my vacations.
Yep.
When we went on vacation for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, we went to different, make sure that visited a lot of states.
Okay.
When we went to Mexico, who was the one that was looking for the horses?
David,
Oh, wasn't one of these guys too?
no,
I remember when we went to Mexico, we had this big party in this backyard. Whose house
Oh.
was that at?
That was the one in California?
Was it in California or was it?
But it was in Mexico side.
Okay. Yep. I remember we went to it with
We
a
hired
huge.
a street orchestra, a
Yep.
band,
Yep.
and then we had and there's about, and that night was, the thing was 118 degrees.
It
And that
was.
night,
I remember it was miserable because we were just sweating all the time and it was so hot. And yeah, but I just remember lights and music and everybody
And
was.
Grandpa singing?
Grandpa singing. Yep. You and your mariachi.
and playing the band.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And then Garrett had one of our well, his cousins, but
The,
one of
the
my
little girlfriend.
girlfriend who came by the hand, and then they never went apart. They sat together under a tree.
He was ready to just sweating, all the sweat was coming down his face. And he was just like red like a tomato. But he was hanging on to her.
Oh, he didn't want to let her go.
No.
Garrett was always the ladies' man, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
he
he
always was.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I guess, like I said, the reason we kind of want to do this is to pass along these stories to everybody and stuff like that. What was some of the hardships growing up and raising a family in Mason City? What was the hardest part about doing that?
Well, no, we didn't have real big hardships.
Mm-hmm.
No, we really didn't have any hardship. Then we didn't make very much money, when we started out. How much did you make at Lehigh when you started
When I
out?
started out, 98 cents an hour.
98 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there was a dime extra because we worked in that shipping department and it was dusty, so they give you a dime extra.
So you had to work in that, so they gave you a little bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he kept going up in grades, Grandpa.
Yep. And how long did you work there for?
20-some years.
20-some years. And,
I worked from there after I learned English stuff.
yep.
So I applied for, one of the guys told me that if you want to make money, get into that maintenance programs.
Mm.
So I got into the maintenance program as a industrial mechanic, and I didn't know you had to put a lot of tests.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I didn't know, very little English.
Yep.
So I passed the entrance test, and then 6 months later, they give another test, but there was a lot of mathematics involved into different things, or measurements. You learn how to measure instruments, and but I passed all that, and I become a mechanic.
And that's
And
when.
after that, I spent about maybe 7-8 years working, and that was hard work.
Yeah.
So I went into the mill room, run the mills. I was the miller,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I went to electrical school. It's a correspondence.
Okay.
I worked from 3 to 11, and I started when I got up at 7 in the morning, 7,
wow.
8 in the morning. And after graduated, well, it was to take 4 years. I graduated in 2.
Wow.
So I work a lot and
Yep.
study a little bit. And I passed all the tests, all the tests they had as an electrician,
Wow.
and become a electrician first class,
Yep.
maintenance.
Wow. So there's a lot of hours of doing that, a lot of on the job training and learning, and kind of
training. Yeah.
plus not knowing English and having to do all that, and you worked your way up through it and did it.
Yeah. After the top paying job.
Yep. Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool to hear that's how it all kind of all worked out, and that's what you battled through to get there. And like you said, coming from Mexico and not knowing English and kind of
Yeah.
doing all that, and
Yeah.
also raising a family in
Yeah.
the midst of everything, and
Yeah.
just really shows that that hard work really paid off. And when did you retire?
In 1975,
Okay.
it's a medical retirement.
Okay.
I became sick, and the way I am now, so I retired then.
Okay. All right. Did you and Grandma ever have any like marriage hardships? I mean, what was the toughest thing about? Was it tough because you were working a lot? Was it tough because?
No, she understood I had to work, and I get a lot of call outs. You come home, you're in maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
especially electrical department, something goes wrong on the plant and something stop with it, they call you midnight, 3 o'clock.
They call you to keep everything moving.
Yeah, they want to fix it, get it going again, and well, it took 10 minutes or 15 or 2 hours. You got
to do it.
Yeah,
you got to be
and
there.
they pay 4 hours minimum.
Okay. So you were hoping it was a 5-minute job. Something came unplugged, you just had to plug it back in, then you were out of there.
An overload. You know?
Oh, yep, and then it'd kick right back up.
Yeah.
Grandma, what do you think? What do you think of Grandpa working a lot and being at home?
No, you have a husband, he has to work, he works.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
I never complained about it.
No.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any hardships. We didn't. With as little money or as much money as he made, we never had to do without. We always had everything.
As long as you guys were together, that's what
And
mattered.
we never argue about money. We never had that problem.
Yep. Well, good. What are some things that you want to pass along to, I mean, obviously your kids, but also your grandkids and now our kids, so your great-grandkids. What is something you want to pass along to them for them to think back and go, oh, Grandpa Nick, I remember that he did this and this?
Well, what I like to pass along is that for you guys to be honest, put your family first, above all, and continue to be a good citizen. That's my advice to you.
Good. I like that. How about you, Grandma?
Yeah. Like Grandpa says, take care of your family. Try to do everything together so your communication.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing we've gone through in our short time, and with kids and stuff like that. It's a lot of figuring out family time, and because there's a lot of nights of we don't see each other until we go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, and then we get up and we're gone, and we just
that's part of marriage. You're working, you have to work. Your schedules are different, so that happens.
And I stayed at home a lot. I didn't work that much.
Yep. But like you said, with Grandma's support and everything, I can't thank Samantha anymore for her, especially with being in policing and the kind of the world we live in right now. She's always never once questioned it, and
it's so much different now compared to when we were married. Wanted all the kids to look after each other, even though you might be far or whatever. Stay in communication with each other, and look after each other as much as you can. Because sometimes you can't because of the distance nowadays.
Yep.
And God bless you all.
Thank you, Grandma. And I think that's one big thing too, is especially my mom really harps on with everything that happened with Uncle Nick and everything like that. I think her biggest thing is she wishes she would have stayed in touch more, and now with technology and everything we have at our fingertips, there's no reason why we can't.
Right.
And like we talked about, family was always everything. Always the cousins would always be together.
Right.
We'd, run around, do everything together, and
that's
what we really want to instill into our kids too, and have them around.
Yes.
Our, the cousins all being together and making sure that it's not just cousins, your family, and basically brothers and sisters. So I love you guys, and this has been great.
I'm ready.
All right. Let's go with your full name then. Let's start out with that.
Dorothy Christine Cookman Hepperly.
Okay, and your birthday?
5/1944.
44. Okay. And where are you from?
Mason City.
Mason City. And you were born in town. Were you born at a hospital?
I really don't know. I was either born at home or I was the only one of my siblings that was born in a hospital. I've heard two stories, so I don't
You still don't know?
Yeah.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
There's 6 of us.
Okay.
And I have two brothers and 3 sisters.
2 brothers and 3 sisters. What was it like growing up with all them?
Crowded.
Crowded?
Yes.
And what were your parents' names?
Alice Walsky Cookman and Victor Cookman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were they like?
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
Growing up, were you the youngest, oldest? What were you in the group?
The youngest.
The youngest?
Yes.
Okay, so you were
The
the baby.
unwanted one.
The unwanted one?
The unwanted one.
What makes
yes.
you say that?
They didn't want me.
Who didn't want you?
Well, my mother she had to quit work, and she worked at Decker's, and she hadn't worked there, I don't think, too awful long. But back in those days, if you got pregnant, you couldn't work there. So she had to quit her job, which finally, her and Dad were finally seeing a little bit of light at the tunnel. They were, getting ahead a little bit, and then she got pregnant with me, and so she had to quit work. And so she wasn't happy. My brother was 18, and he says, "Oh no, not another kid." This is all stories I've heard. And he wasn't happy, and of course he was in the service then, I think. And but when I was born sick. I had, I was, from stories I've heard, is that I wasn't very old, and they had to rush me to Iowa City because I had pneumonia, whatever, probably RSV, what they have today. And anyway, when we got there, the doctors told them, they said that it's a good thing you got her here when you did, because they said she wasn't going to make it much longer. And my brother drove the car, the brother that didn't want me, drove the car, Mom and Dad, down to Iowa City. And anyway, of course, I'm sure, as with any parent, when you don't really want the child, but yet, please God, let her live, probably, I'm sure this is probably, and so, anyway, my brother never let me forget this. Yeah, you really weren't wanted, I mean, kiddingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you look back on it and it's, How long were you in Iowa City for then?
I really don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then
sounds like I was a pretty sick kid.
Yeah, you were fine, and then came back, and then
Yeah. And then they wanted me. So.
Then they wanted you.
Yeah.
Figured you put them through all that, so now they want you to stay around.
Yeah, I guess we'll keep her.
Okay. What'd your dad do? For work?
My dad worked at Decker's, and then he worked with Nick at Lehigh.
Lehigh. Mm-hmm. Okay. What were they like as parents growing up? What do you remember?
They were there.
Yeah.
They were always there. They were great parents. Yeah. Holidays were always special. We always had a lot of relatives around, and uncles and aunts and cousins. And
did you have a lot of that lived here in Mason City then, or was it a lot of like aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff? Did they live in Mason City as well?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
Okay. So you would hang out there. Okay. Where was your house that you grew up in?
Actually, it's right where I'm at right now, on 24th Street.
24th Street.
I grew up and was raised there, and I tell everybody that, now Gary and I bought the property after my mom passed away, and we have a new home there, and I just tell everybody I just went back home.
What do you remember most about that house?
It was small, 1 bathroom, and 2 bedrooms, which were upstairs, and my mom and dad had a bedroom, and then there was 1 big room, and there was like 3 double beds where everybody slept. And I remember once sleeping with my brothers, I was like,
really?
Okay.
I remember we'd go over there growing up. I remember we'd go to Grandma Alice's house after church on Sundays, and everyone would be over there. And I remember the long wooden like bar stool type
It
thing,
was
the
a
seat
bench, a
bench.
bench.
Yep, that had like the leather like woven in it and
Yes.
everything like that. And then
Yeah.
yep, we'd go upstairs and we'd play with all the dolls upstairs, the creepy looking dolls that were always up there that Grandma Alice had.
Those creepy looking dolls, I have them in my bedroom.
I know you do. I don't know how Ozzy does it. Okay, so grow up there. Did you go to school in Mason City then? Where'd you go to school at?
Went to Madison Elementary and Roosevelt Junior High
Okay.
and the high school.
The high school.
Yeah.
And you graduated from high school?
No,
No?
no.
What happened there?
Gary and I got married before I went to my senior year,
Okay.
which isn't the best way to start out a marriage.
And where'd you meet Grandpa at?
At Werkel.
At Werico?
He was working, and that's another funny story. I was with my boyfriend at the time, and back in those days, when your dad when he waited on a car, I mean, they not only put gas in, they had to check the oil, do all the windows on every car that came in.
Oh, wow.
And so my boyfriend went in to pay for the gas, and Grandpa stuck his head in the window and he says, "My ring would look better on you than that one."
And was this a class ring? What kind of
class
ring?
ring.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you got this class ring.
And I looked, whoa, you know. I thought, oh, he's kind of cute, you know. But and shortly after that, my boyfriend and I broke up, and so yeah,
And then
I
you
ended up with
meeting him
the Werco
again?
man.
When he said this to you, did you had known about him before? Have you seen him
No,
before?
never
This
seen
is the
him.
first time you
Yeah.
saw him. And then how did you find him after you and your boyfriend broke
Oh,
up?
then I started buying all my gas down there.
That's where you started going.
Oh, we just dated and cruised Federal from the Hop to Hassey's. That was the thing to do back then. It was,
Was it in his car? What kind of a car was it? Do you remember?
oh, he was a Mercury man. Yeah.
Mercury Man?
Yeah, yeah.
What color was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like a dark green.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how old were you when you guys started dating?
16.
16, and he would have been?
Probably 19 or 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did your parents think of you dating him?
My mother was scared of him.
Really?
Yes. Well, he had slick back black hair. I mean, he's tall. He's a big guy.
Yep.
And yeah, and I think in the back of her mind, she thought, oh, he's too old for her, you know. And she was probably right, you know. But it all worked out in the end.
Yep.
It all worked out.
And then you said you guys got married young. How old were you when you got married?
17.
17.
Yeah.
So how long after you guys started dating did you get married?
Oh, gosh. Oh. Probably a year, maybe. Not even a year,
Okay.
probably.
And why'd you want to marry Grandpa?
Oh, he was a pretty neat looking guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Charming?
And yeah, he was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So when you guys decided to get married, where'd you get married at?
Little Brown Church.
Little Brown Church?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did your mom and dad think of that, you guys getting married?
Well, it was kind of you will get married next Saturday, and yeah, so it was a very quick wedding. And,
Okay.
But my family was all there, so that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on Grandpa's side, what did his parents think of you guys getting married?
His dad laughed, but yeah, I said, okay. So,
What did you think?
not the way to start out.
Yeah.
Not a good way to start out.
Okay.
But it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
after you guys got married, what happened next? You guys move in together? What?
Well, your dad had to go back, or your grandpa had to go back to work that night.
After you guys
Yeah.
got married?
Yeah, he got 5 hours off work.
Oh,
And
wow.
and my sister and I went and got groceries and
Wow.
took him to the apartment. And
Where was your apartment at?
it was on 9th and Delaware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a little one-bedroom apartment then, or what was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys moved in there. Were you working anywhere at the time when you got married?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. What happened after next? What after you guys?
After that, Gary continued to work at Werco. I remember our rent was $60 a month, and he made $60 a week. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, times were tough.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and basically, my parents, we needed furniture because it was an unfurnished apartment. So they cleaned out the cabin with furniture that was there and let us use that furniture. And Lyle did the same thing. Lyle and
Yeah.
Lucille, they got us a TV and yeah, and so
Okay.
yeah, thank God for family.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so then that happened. And how long after you guys were married did you start having children?
Oh gosh, dear. Well, we were married in July 1st of 65, or 65, 61, and Dave was born in January of 62.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what was it like having a newborn and now?
Oh, it was, it was work, but you loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
How
we
was-
lived in a little tiny house, and but we had good memories there, and I remember our couch didn't have any. It sat right on the floor, no
Any
legs on the
or
couch.
anything?
Yeah, yeah. But you just made do.
Yep.
It's, yeah.
How was my dad as a baby?
Oh, precious.
Was he?
Yeah,
Was
precious.
it ornery or anything? He was a good baby.
Oh no, he was a good baby. He really was.
Good.
And yeah, and of course it was Grandma and Grandpa Hepperly's first grandchild, so Grandpa Lyle spoiled him pretty good.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny.
And he took him a lot of places.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you initially go and go to work? When did you?
Well, I didn't go to an actual job other than I would babysit. When we moved from 24th Street, we lived in a house on 24th Street after the little house, and I babysat for a family who had 5 kids, and the wife had a split shift, so I had to go in the morning and then go back at night, and yeah, I watched kids and I did that for a few years actually, and just for extra income, and
Okay.
and Grandpa was working at Werco, and then he got the job at Iowa Beef,
Okay.
and yeah, I
Then
can
that's when
still
you-
see him sitting on the porch, and he had the steel and the knife, learning how to steel a knife, and-
Yeah. Sharpen
but
it up.
that was hard work for him.
Yeah.
It was yeah, he was, yeah.
What was Grandpa like when he found out he was going to be a dad?
Well, he wasn't overjoyed, but yeah, it was like, well, we did it, so we make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And was my dad named after anybody, or?
he was. He was named after Gary's best friend, Dave Bowers,
Okay. And why did you guys decide to do that?
because Gary decided that's the name he's going to have.
That was the name he was gonna have.
Yeah, and then his middle name is Lyle,
Lyle.
after Grandpa
Yeah,
Lyle.
Grandpa Lyle.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how long after my dad was born did Uncle Steve come around?
Let's see. Dave was born in 62 and Steve was born in 65, so
Okay.
2.5, 3 years.
2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like going from 1 to 2?
Oh, we were busy,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay. How was Uncle Steve as a baby? Was he?
He was a good baby. Yeah, he was
Good
a
one.
good baby. Yeah.
What was my dad like when he realized he wasn't going to be an only child anymore?
Oh, I think he liked the idea. I
Yeah.
really do. I
Have
think
somebody to play
yeah.
with and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what was Grandpa, what was his thing with, now he's got 2 boys, what was,
I think that's when he started working 2 jobs. He
okay.
would work at Iowa Beef during the day, and then he would shingle, and yeah, he would
Oh.
shingle with his brother and his dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he'd work 2 jobs a lot. So did you get to see him a lot? Was he always gone?
He was gone a lot,
Yeah.
you know, especially in the summer, because Grandpa Lyle, he would line up these jobs, and they would be on a roof a
Okay.
lot. Yeah.
How'd that make you feel?
Well, that's how it was back then. You just, you know, you appreciated the extra money,
Right.
but it's hard being without them, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And being with the kids, you know, and being the only one with the kids a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Made it tough.
yeah.
Okay. And then my Aunt Barb came around. She
Yeah.
was the baby.
She was the baby.
How'd you feel knowing that you were finally going to have a girl?
Well, back then you didn't know it until you had them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, oh yeah, we were thrilled. Yeah, to have a little girl, and of course that was her dad's pride and joy. Really
Yeah.
was.
So
We
he
were
was,
very close.
yes, he was, Aunt Barb was kind of had Grandpa Gary wrapped around his finger at
Oh,
a very
yeah.
young age.
I remember one time. Well, we always bowled, you know, and anyway, it was my bowling night, and Gary came out and he had Barb, and I remember this person wanted to hold her, and I remember he looked at like, I don't know, you know, it's
Yeah.
just like he didn't want anybody else to touch her, you know,
Right.
but yeah,
That was his.
yeah, but he did let that person hold her.
Who?
Yeah.
So who's Aunt Barb named after?
Actually, she wasn't named after anybody.
Anybody?
No,
Just the name
like
you guys?
the name Barbara.
Okay. And then how about Uncle Steve? I forgot to ask. Was he named after anybody?
Yeah, it's Steve, not his first name, but I like the name Steve. But he was named after my dad,
Okay.
Victor, Stephen Victor.
Okay. All right. Now you got 3 kids, and what were you doing for work at this point?
I went to work at Armor,
Okay.
and gosh, I can't even remember what year that was, but that was back when, you know, Gary was working at Iowa Beef, and then I was working at Armor, so we really thought we were on top of the world for a while.
Yeah.
For a while. But anyway, then in 75 or 76, he lost his job out at Iowa Beef. They closed down. And then shortly after that, I lost my job because the plant went down. So we were both out of work, and back then it was tough to find jobs.
Yeah.
And Gary worked construction. Yeah, I think the Iowa Beef went down before that, but he worked construction also, and
Okay.
and there wasn't much going on as far as construction, so yeah, and we were both out of work at the same time, and then that was tough.
Yeah.
That was real tough, and so we kind of slid backwards a little bit, but let's see, and then He got a job in Albert Lee.
Okay.
It was in the meat packing plant there.
Okay.
But he worked afternoons, and as you remember, Grandpa had a sleep disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and he would fall asleep very easily. And so I was a wreck, just thinking, oh my gosh, because he had to drive back and
Back
forth.
and forth.
Yeah, and late at night, and and then I got a job at Moto Day, which was a sewing factory, and that's where I met Mary. Yeah, Mary and I worked there, and and I couldn't sew a lick. And I remember one time that I actually sewed my finger.
Oh,
If
no.
you can imagine, right there. And the mechanic had to take the stitches out of my finger. I was like, I don't belong here.
Oh,
But it
no.
was a paycheck, you know.
Right.
So then, yeah. But then I was actually working out there, and I got a phone call, and it was from Steve. And he said, Mom, he says, Armor called, and they want to know if you want to have application, that you're supposed to go out there tomorrow. And I just, yay, yay.
That's
So,
where-
and that's how I went back to
back
work
there.
at Armor, and that was out at the new plant then.
Okay.
And
You worked out there for how long?
yeah, I worked between the two plants 34 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what'd you do exactly out there?
Out to the new plant. I worked in the ham line, I worked in the bacon line, I ran the slicer in the bacon line, and basically those were the two main departments I worked
Okay.
in. But,
Did they put you on the slicing line because they knew you could sew your finger back up? If that's what happened? So you said it was tough times after you and Grandpa both lost your jobs. Obviously financially, but like emotionally and stuff like that. What was that like, having to go through all that? And did that put a big strain on
Well,
you guys?
No, we'd been through harder times, just starting out, and but I remember he came home he would go every day to the Union Hall. This was the construction part, and he came home, and he was just I remember him just kind of flopping down on the couch, and he says, you'd be better off if I was dead. And I says, don't you ever say that. Don't you ever say that. But that's how distraught he was, just because there was no unemployment or anything like that. It was
Let's
just,
go out and
yeah.
find another one.
And actually, I remember my parents, they would give us money, and, it was just
to get by.
tough, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you hate to ask for money when you're, but it was tough times, yeah.
So we talked about that. What memories do you remember growing up with, or have raising the three kids together? What memories do you have? Was any one of them harder to manage, or was anyone more rebellious than the other? Or did any of you cause you more headaches than the other ones?
Stephen.
You said that.
Stephen.
You said that like you knew that was coming.
Oh, yes,
What happened?
Stephen.
What made him?
Oh, he was a good kid. He was a good kid, but there was times he went across, him and the neighbor kids, they were always doing something. And anyway, he lit some sort of car on fire, and he had it behind his bike, and he went through the neighbor's yard and caught the neighbor's yard on fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then they would sleep. They would say they were sleeping in the tent, and stuff. Well, they would wander the neighborhood. One night they got caught by the police, and the police asked them, "What are you doing? It's 3:00 in the morning, or whatever." And so anyway, we got a little call on that one, and
Was it mostly just him, or was my dad with him?
I don't
Barb
think,
with him?
no, I think Dave would have probably reined him in a little bit, but then the most scared I ever was with Steve was he went over to the neighbor's house. The kids were all playing outside. That was back when you just let your kids play wherever, you know. But anyway, he drank lighter fluid.
Oh, no.
The neighbor had lighter fluid out and by their grill or whatever, and he drank lighter fluid. And he came in the house, and I mean, he was just kind of, and I called the doctor right away, and we went out to the hospital. I had to call Gary to come home and take him out to the hospital, and they didn't pump his stomach or anything. They couldn't do anything like that. So, but and we had to try and keep him awake, you know, and he just wanted to sleep. And for days, we had to just watch him close, and you had to wake him up I don't remember now if it was every hour and a half, something like that. So we had to set an alarm and make sure that we could wake him up.
I think it's the middle kids, because I'm pretty sure Garrett did something like that with gasoline. He either would sniff gasoline or drink it. And they had to like monitor him because he would, try to go to sleep, and he did something like that too.
Yeah.
So I think it's the middle kids.
I think so. And I think to this day, that's why Steve can eat all these hot peppers and it doesn't faze him at all. The hotter the better. Something happened there.
Oh, funny. So was my dad always kind of like the more dad version of, would he always make sure people were?
He was, cool and just had a good head on his shoulders, but there were times with Dave that he would sleepwalk.
Oh no.
Yeah, and Gary was up one night and Dave came downstairs, and Gary thought he was going into the bathroom, but he lifted the lid on the hamper.
Oh no. And went in there?
Well, he tried, yeah. That's what he was going to do. So
Oh, no.
Gary stopped him and, and then one other night he got out of the house in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a policeman caught him, you know.
Was he just walking down the street?
He was out there.
Oh no.
I don't think he'd been out there very long, luckily.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Did Grandpa ever butt heads with Steve or my dad at all?
Oh,
Who did
yes. Oh, yeah. You know, I remember one time that Dave thought he could take his dad. And I remember they went into the wall, and that's it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But, you know, kids do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
funny.
But Dave, you know, and Dave was a good athlete, and, you know, he played football, and
Yep.
yeah, and he played the last game at Roosevelt, and my dad played the first game.
Oh,
So
really?
they were in the paper
Wow.
as a grandson and grandson and grandpa, you know, being the first and last at Roosevelt
And that
Stadium.
at that time, was that when Barry Alvarez was the coach?
Mm-hmm.
And then went on to go to Wisconsin and do all that. Wow.
I believe it was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. What was Aunt Barb like growing up?
She was always a good little girl. Yeah. She always unfortunately there wasn't a lot of kids in the neighborhood for her to play with, and so she would go over and visit with Tiny Statzer, and they've got to be quite good buddies.
Really?
Yeah. He would be out there with his dog and combing his dog out, and she'd go over and they would talk and Tiny and her got to be really close.
Really?
Really close, yeah. And in fact, on her wedding day, and they were there, and Tiny came up to me and he said, And he gave me an envelope, and he said, I want to give this to you. He said, there's quite a bit of, how do you put that? Quite a bit of change in there. And he gave it to me. He said, I didn't want to put it in the box, you know. And he gave her $800.
Wow.
That's how much she meant
She
to
meant
him.
to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were such good neighbors, such good neighbors. And so when they got in their elderly years, of course, we kept in contact, went to the nursing homes to visit them, and yeah, so.
Did Aunt Barb ever do anything wrong that you remember? Did she ever get in trouble?
She did, and she's gonna kill me if I tell you. I was working nights at Armour, and I came home, and anyway, nobody was home. Oh, this is strange. Gary isn't here. Well, anyway, pretty soon here comes Gary and Barb, and she was very sheepish, and apparently her and some friends had gotten some booze somewhere, and anyway, she was throwing up in the bathroom, and she got caught.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so she got escorted, and her dad had to come get her, and it was not a good thing.
Oh, no.
Barb, I'm sorry, but he asked.
Oh,
That was about.
What did Grandpa think when that happened? Was he pretty upset?
I don't know what he said to her on the way home, but I think she probably got quite a chewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she did.
Oh.
But yeah, she was, and she was a pretty special girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was Grandpa like being a dad, raising those kids?
He was a good dad. He was.
Good.
Yeah, very good dad.
Any fun memories that you can think of, or any? Do you teach them a lot of stuff, a lot of hands-on stuff?
Yeah,
I feel.
yeah, especially with the boys. You know, being out in the garage and working on cars and doing things, and yeah, and they shingled. The boys shingled too, and Dave more than Steve. But yeah, they learned how to shingle, and.
So after my dad graduates high school, and then he went to Nyack, correct? And then he was working at McDonald's and Pizza Hut and stuff like that, and then he met my mom.
Right.
What'd you initially think of my mom when you met her?
Oh, she's beautiful. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
What's not to like?
they started dating, and then ended up getting married. And what would you think of all that?
Oh, I was just happy for both of them.
Yep.
They just made a wonderful couple, and
Good.
yeah, and look what they've accomplished.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you find out that he's gonna be a policeman. What does that make you feel when you hear that?
Oh, I was proud. Yeah. Yeah, because he called Uncle Joe. Either he called him or I did when he was thinking about it. And Uncle Joe was a policeman, of course.
Yep.
And he told him, he says, well, you'll never get rich.
Yep.
But that was Uncle Joe's advice to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes to the academy and everything, and starts doing that, and starts working nights and stuff, and they start their family. And did you have to watch us as kids a lot when they would do that?
Oh, every night.
Every night?
Yeah, well, when they were working, yeah, because Esther worked nights,
Yep.
and then Dave worked the third shift, so there was like an hour and a half that, you know, they needed somebody. So, yeah, we would go over, either Gary or I would go over and watch you kids, which we didn't really do much watching. You were sleeping, so made it pretty easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just,
And then growing up, I guess, us as little kids and stuff like that, did any of us ever give you any trouble or anything like that?
oh, you and Garrett, oh my gosh, you loved to wrestle and fight, and I was a nervous wreck because I thought, oh, they're gonna get hurt. Well, one night they did, and it was you that got hurt.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, and blood was running out of your nose, and I said to Dave, that's it. They're not doing any more of this fighting in the house.
What did he think about that, my dad?
But,
He probably knew that we
Yeah.
did that a bunch.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Chad was always did Chad remind you a lot of my dad growing up?
Yeah.
Kind of the quiet.
Yeah, more quiet, reserved. Yeah.
Yeah. Any fun memories you remember of us as grandkids doing anything like that?
Oh well, just all your school activities, and we always made sure that we were there. And,
Yep.
Yeah, and
Looking up at hockey games and football
the
games
hockey,
and everything.
Oh, that was the best.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember so much. And this was the later part, I think, of your hockey career here. But I remember Garrett got slashed in the neck by somebody, and nobody messes with Garrett when Greg's around. And you went after that kid, and if I remember correctly, you both got expelled.
Probably.
Not Garrett, but the other guy and you.
Yep.
Yeah, because you really went after him. But
Yep.
the crowd loves that. The crowd loved Garrett or Greg.
I'd always get to,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was anytime anybody touched Garrett, it was, he was always
Yeah.
my one tipping point. Anybody ever messed with him, it was like
Yeah.
that, so.
And actually, I remember Dave was not real happy when he heard that you were going to be born.
Really?
Yeah, well, when he found out that Esther was pregnant, it was like, because there's only, a year between you?
Mhm.
Something like that?
Yep.
And God works in mysterious ways.
Yep.
Because thank God for you, because you were always there for Garrett. You were the one that made sure Garrett was okay.
Yep.
And that was great. That was great.
Yep.
And watching little Garrett get on the little bus with his diapers in his backpack, and what was he, 2 years old?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was great.
Yeah, it was always him and I. Chad was always a little bit older, and Chad was already kind of doing his thing, and it was always Garrett and I. We were in the same grade growing up, and
Yeah.
it was fun.
And I do remember one time and I just remembered the story,
Oh, no.
but that Chad had a party at the house.
Yep.
Chad had a party at the house, and Dave and Esther had gone out of town, and anyway, they came back, everything's fine. And I think the story went that Chad forgot to get rid of the beer cans. They hid them somewhere.
He hid them in the basement behind like this fake wall that was in his closet, and it started to stink really bad, and he didn't move them out, and then my dad going down there and got into him, and then he was busted.
He was busted.
Yep. Chad was busted. Funny story, the same thing kind of happened when they were out of town. I threw a party at the new house, and I had cleaned everything up, make sure I took the trash out. I learned from Chad's mistake, except for my dad loves to clean, and when he moves every piece of furniture, he moved one end table, and there was a beer can top sitting right underneath it. And so then what happened here? And then I just, I couldn't lie, and he saw right through me, and then that's what so I tried learning from Chad's mistakes, but I didn't execute it well either.
Yeah.
So, oh, funny.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Steve, after he gets done with high school, what does he go off and do?
Steve went to Nyack. That was one thing that once Gary and I got pretty well established, and and I said, I was kind of a drill sergeant with the kids with this, because Gary or I, neither one of us had a high school diploma,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, you kids are going to go to college. It's not if you're going to go, it's when you're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
You are going. And we paid for it. We paid for all 3 kids to go to college.
Wow.
And, back then it wasn't astronomical like it is today. But I've always been very proud that Gary and I were able to do that for
Awesome.
him.
That is
Yeah.
great. So he gets done with Nyack, and then what does he go off and do?
He was working in county jail, which at that time was at the courthouse. And then he got a job, he was a jailer there, and then he got his Manly job at Manly, Iowa.
Yep.
As a policeman, and he was there a couple years, 2-3 years, and then he got on at Winnebago.
And
County.
would that make you feel like now, knowing that you're gonna have two in the same kind of profession and stuff like that? That make you
I was
worried?
just always proud, and I think if it was in today's world, like I worry about you, that it's a whole new world now. It's
Right.
and it doesn't have to be this way, but
Right.
it is, and it's dangerous. And yeah, I think I'll just be glad when they do finally retire, and
Yep.
But I'm glad they're here
Definitely.
and not in a huge city.
Definitely.
I'm glad you're in Norwalk and not in Des Moines, I
Yep.
guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good profession.
It is.
People look up to you, or they should. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. You never know who you're gonna talk to the next day, and it always has its bad days sometimes, but
Right.
the good outweighs the bad.
Right.
And if you could make a difference, that's why I wanted to be in it. And I saw my dad and I saw Uncle Steve doing that, and they were always a difference, and they were always somebody who was positive and always made a positive impact on people. And you hear it all growing up, and
Yeah.
so that's one reason that really pushed me towards it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And we're very proud.
thank you. And so when does he meet Michelle?
He met Michelle. I believe they went to school together, but they didn't date or anything. But I think they'd kind of always known each other. And then Michelle was actually working at Armor.
Really?
Yeah, and I hadn't met her yet. Well, when her and Steve started dating, and I hadn't met her yet. My sister Ann did, and she said, and I think Ann asked her one night when they were working. She says, "Well, have you met Steve's mom?" And she said, "No." And she said, "Well, she works here." She does, and anyway, then I finally got to meet Michelle.
Yep.
And yeah, that was kind of a coincidence that we all end up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then initially, when they start dating and everything, what'd you think of Michelle to start out with?
Well, Michelle is Michelle.
Yeah.
She is the life of the party.
Yes.
She really is. She's just, in fact, I remember that we had Gary and Esther's party down at, is that where Pizza Ranch is now? And I think Esther was turning, was it 30? And Gary was turning 50. We had a surprise birthday party for him. And so basically that was the first night that I really met Michelle. And she was there, and Steve was supposed to have had a date with some girl coming up the next Saturday night or something. And Michelle says, "Well, he's not going." So, and I think then was when they knew that they were meant to be together.
Oh, awesome. And so they get married, and you were everything with that. What was their wedding like?
Steve and
remember?
Michelle's wedding?
Yes.
Oh, it was very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But leading up to that, Steve took his sweet time in asking Michelle to marry him. And they were actually living together. Michelle had Jess,
Yep.
and she was up in Thompson with Steve, and she was driving to Armour every day, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
That's quite
That's
a jaunt. And she did that for quite a while, and she just kept thinking, he's gonna propose. When are we gonna get married? All this and that, and he was just taking his sweet time about that, and we were going to Rich and Sue Staley's going away party we were having. We had lots of parties, but we were going to their, and we had that in Millie and Dan's garage. And anyway, we were all, you know, enjoying ourselves and stuff. And Michelle was so mad at Steve. And she told my sister Ann, she says, yeah, she says, he won't get me a ring, but he'll buy that radiator for that stupid car that race car that he had, and because they had stopped right before they came to the party to get this radiator or something. And yeah, he can spend money on that, but he can't ask me to marry him, you know. And so anyway, so the party went on, and everybody was kind of toasting, you know, Rich and Sue, and you know, good luck and on your new adventure and stuff. And Steve was always a good talker, still is. But he got up and he says, well, there's one last thing that I want you to be a part of. And anyway, he went over and got down on one knee in front of all of us and proposed to Esther. And she's just going, yeah,
Michelle,
and she keeps looking at Ann because she just said
this whole
but
thing.
that was cool. I can still remember that. That was pretty neat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What did what did Grandpa think of Michelle when they first started dating?
Oh, he loved Michelle. Yeah. What's not to love?
I know.
You know.
Remember, they would always play jokes on each other, and they would always razz each other every time they were in the room together.
Yeah, Michelle, every time, well, she'd say, you know, I got to use the bathroom. Gary would say, put a quarter on the back of the stool. I mean, it was just put a quarter on the back of the stool, you know, to use the bathroom. And anyway, she'd go in there. She'd leave her quarter. And she would also, I had a picture, probably that size, and she'd tip it upside down in the bathroom. You always knew when Michelle was there because she'd tip that picture upside down. It was cute.
I remember she did that once at your guys' house and said that it was Grandma Alice, right? That was coming back and haunting us and playing with us. And she let that go on for hours, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I remember she would do that.
Oh, she's...
So Michelle had Jesse before Steve and him got married. What did you think of Jesse?
Oh, she's a sweetheart. Little spoiled. What did you think of Jesse?
I didn't think I liked her when I was growing up, did I?
Oh, you kids, you weren't used to girls. You weren't used to little girls, and she wanted her way a lot. And I'll never forget you guys looking at her like, what is it? But yeah.
Good. And what did Grandpa think of Jesse being around?
Oh, he loved it. He loved little kids.
He did.
Yeah, he was especially babies. Loved babies.
And did you guys have to babysit Jesse a lot with?
Not too much. No. Her other grandma watched her more than
quite a
what
bit.
we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they get married, and then Cam comes along. What'd you guys think of Cam when Cam came along?
Oh, well, we didn't get to see him for the first couple hours, I believe, after she had him.
Why is that?
Because Michelle wanted him all to themselves and so we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a pretty special guy.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. And do you have any memories or anything you remember with Cam and Jesse growing up? Do you remember babysitting him a lot? Do you remember?
No, not really. Just we'd go up to Thompson when they'd have their little plays and things that they were involved in and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. What do you think when Cam ended up joining the military?
Oh, I was not for that at all. And like God works in mysterious ways, again. But because he signed up when he was a junior. And I thought, oh no, you know, because then you're pretty much committed, you know. And but yeah, he's done very well. Yeah,
Yes.
and it was the right decision.
Yes.
Yeah, he met Kendra, and now they have a little one, and yeah, and they're so happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jessie now with Trevor and
Yeah.
her little girls and everything like that. And
Perfect.
Yes.
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back to Aunt Barb. When she gets done with high school, she goes to Nyack to study nursing. Is that correct?
Yeah, she did.
Okay, and did that.
She did that, and then she wasn't gonna go on to get her BSN. She thought she would wait a year, and I said, no, you're gonna do it now. So, and I could say that because we were footing the bill. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, she said that was the right decision, Mom.
Yes.
You know, because she did a lot of online classes, and then she graduated from Iowa with her BSN.
Yeah.
And it's really paid off for her.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely has.
What were my dad and Steve like? Were they very protective of Barb growing up?
Yeah.
Because she was a few years younger than him.
Dave especially, yeah.
Okay.
Dave was.
Why was he so protective? What would he do?
Well, I just, I don't know if he really did anything in particular, just made sure that she was okay. And Dave loved to tease both of them, Steve and Barb. They had this, and I know you've heard this a million times, they had the high V horse races on every, probably Monday night, I don't know. And anyway, Dave always held the tickets that they had, and he would always tell them, oh, we're ahead, that's our horse. And the kids would get so excited. We won. And they, oh, no, sorry. He did that to them all the time. And then he would pay Barb to rub his back. He'd lay down in front of the TV, and poor kid, she spent rubbing his back for a nickel.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, but the kids were always close, and
Good.
yeah.
After schooling and everything, where did Aunt Barb go get her job at? Here at Mercy, or where was it?
It was at Mercy, but she was in, she worked for Dr. Santos, and then she worked in surgery, and then she was getting sick, and to the point it was affecting her throat, and anyway, she was fine when she was out of the surgery room. But once she went back into the surgery room, she was choking up and, all this. It was terrible. And anyway, they did everything. They cleaned that room inside out and backwards. And anyway, I'll never forget it, because I was at her house one night when she had one of these attacks. By that time, they'd gotten her an inhaler. And anyway, she was looking at me, but she wasn't seeing me. It was
Really
a very scary. And then she got her inhaler, and she was fine after that. But to make a long story short, there was a new allergen person. I don't know what the name is, but was going to be starting January 1st. And she was his first patient here in Mason City.
Wow.
And he says, you have latex allergies.
Wow.
And that was when all the doctors and nurses had latex gloves, including herself.
Yep.
Yeah. And so she had to transfer out of surgery. And
to go through all that and then finally realize.
Yeah. And nowadays, I don't think latex is even allowed in the hospital.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are non.
Yeah, so, that was a tough way to find that out.
Right.
But
When
she suffered with that for quite a while.
when did she meet Uncle Todd?
They were working at Hy-Vee together.
Okay.
And she met Todd.
And
Yeah.
this was back when she was doing nursing, or was this before? How long ago?
I believe it was before. Yeah.
Okay. And what'd you think of Todd when she told you that they were dating?
Oh, he was a little bit older than her, but you know, he was like Steve's age. I think
Okay.
him and Steve are the same age. But yeah, he was a nice guy. Came from a nice family, and
Yep.
yeah, and he was going to school in. I don't remember where he was going to school.
Is that
But-
you? Did he go to UNI?
I believe he
Yeah.
did.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, so they were kind of apart and
Yep.
still dating. And
What'd Grandpa think of him? I don't.
oh, he
with
liked
having
him. Todd and Gary had a very special bond.
Good.
Yeah.
And then they decided to get married, and you guys were everybody was okay with it and everything.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And then,
I remember the first time I met Todd was he was sitting out in our front yard with Barb, and my dad was either just passing or had passed, and I was like, hi, you know, and I left, you know, but yeah.
yeah.
So that was the first meeting that I had with Todd.
Okay.
Good looking guy. Yeah, very good looking guy.
Was he wearing his cowboy boots then? when
No, he didn't get into those until
Till
a
later
few
on.
years back.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. I always look at him every time I see
I
him. now.
know.
So they start a family, and they have Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think when they started their family with Kayla and then the other girls coming along?
They were just wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful. And my most vivid memory of Todd and the girls, because Todd's a walker. He has been ever since they met, and he still walks every day. But he would have. I watched him. They just lived about a block away from us, and I saw him. He was pushing the stroller, and he had two kids in the wagon behind him, and plus he had the dog, and he was walking sideways. But this is what he did every day. He'd get the kids, and they'd all go for a walk,
Yep.
plus the dog, and he'd walk sideways, but he got his walk in.
And I remember that house over there. It was right by your guys' house.
Yeah.
He'd
that
have poker games in the basement.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
And
That
they
was-
bought that house from us.
Didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Wow.
That was a pretty rundown house before Gary and I bought it. In fact, Dave got very mad at me because this was when the rental houses were my idea. Gary really didn't want anything to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I got to the point and I just says, well, I'm going to do it with you or without you. So I guess he figured, oh, okay, you know. But he was good. He could fix things,
Yep.
you know. And so I don't know how many rental houses we ended up with, 5 or 6, something like that. But this particular house, this man that lived there, apparently his wife had left him. And from that day on, all he did was stay in that house and smoke and drink. And I mean, the whole house was yellow inside. And it was weeds up to the windows. I mean, it was really, really bad. Not taken care of. And it was bad. But anyway, we bought it. And the ceilings were all black and some of them were hanging down. It was really disgusting. But Dave came to see it, and he came in the back entryway, and he got as far as the kitchen, and he said to me, "What are you trying to do? Kill my dad?" And he just turned around and walked out. I mean, he'd had enough of that. But anyway, when we got done with it, we rented it out for a short period of time, and it really did turn out nice. Mm-hmm. And we rented it to a couple with a baby, and Barb was going to be getting married, and she came to me and she says, "Mom, can you kick them people out of the house?" And I says, "No, I can't do that." And it was just fate, I guess, because it was just a couple days later that the gal called me, and they had been transferred out of town, and so they were going to be moving.
Oh, wow.
So then Barb and Todd were able to rent
right
the
in.
house from us, and then they
Eventually
eventually
purchased
ended up buying it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah.
That's special. With their girls growing up and stuff like that, what was Grandpa like around all those girls?
Oh, in heaven. Yeah, yeah. He just, I mean, all the grandkids. He just loved them all. He would get down on the floor and play with them, and you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Always we'd be wrestling around or playing with different
Oh yeah,
toys.
riding him like a horse.
Yep.
And yeah, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
the time. And
Yeah.
where did the cabin in Clear Lake come from?
Well, my parents owned it,
Okay.
and they bought it, and then fixed it up a little bit. But I remember the outhouse was way on the back of the property, and yeah, it was. And then they added on a bathroom and a bedroom, and then Gary did a lot of remodeling in there, and so yeah, and then my mom and dad were getting up there in age, and my dad had had a stroke, and so we always, of course, you said this, about us all getting together every Sunday at my mom's house, my brothers and sisters, and we had quite a clan there. But my mom one day, she says, "Well, we got to talk over some family business," and we all go, "Oh gosh, no, what's going on now?" But anyway, she says, "Your dad can't do the cabin anymore," and she says, "I don't want it to get out of the family," and she says, "I want to leave it to one of you kids, and what's the fairest way to do it?" So they came up with the idea that the fairest way to do it, and she says, we'll sell it to whoever for $12,000. So anyway, started with my brother Joe, because he's the oldest.
Yep.
He didn't want it. Jack lived in Cedar Rapids. He didn't want it. My sister lived in Cedar Rapids. She didn't want any part of it. My sister Mary Helen already lived at the lake, and she didn't want it. My sister Ann says, "I don't want it," So it came down to Gary and I, and we were thrilled. Because we spent a lot of time over there with Mom and Dad even, and so that's how we ended up with the cabin. And then we were going to the lawyer's office, my mom and Dad and me, and we were sitting there in front of the lawyer, and my mom said, "Well, I'm not selling you the cabin." And I go, "Oh," and she says, "No, I'm giving it to you.
Wow.
It's a gift for anybody in the family to use for like $10 a night if they want to
Yep.
stay there, if the family wanted to stay there, enough to pay the electric
Yep.
bill or something." And I was just like, whoa, so, because we were ready to pay for it,
Yep.
and she says, "No, it's a gift, because I just don't want it to get out of the family."
That's cool.
And my mom always said, we've got a little piece of Clear Lake. She used to say that all the time. And so then, as you remember, we had a lot of good times over
Yep.
there. And then the cabin got to the point where it was beyond fixing. And anyway, so then we put up the new house, and I can't remember if we put the new house up and we had already purchased the other cabin or not.
I remember that was You guys were in the process, I think, of acquiring that little one on the corner.
When we put the new one?
Yep.
Okay.
Because that was Grandpa's, like, toy, basically.
No, I remember now. Yeah, we had the new cabin put in, and then, because Gary and I were over there, and he had already been diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to quit work, or retire, and we were over there at the cabin, and we just pulled out, or Gary had gone down to get the mail, and we were just pulling out, and he had this letter in his hand, and he said, well, I don't know why Hotchkiss is, what he wants. And I said, what's that? And he said, I don't know, a letter from Hotchkiss, and he's the guy that owned the little cabin. He says, well, and Gary took care of the water bills and stuff, and he billed everybody around on Maple Street.
Yep.
And he says, well, it's not time for the water bill. So he opened it, and he read this letter from Fred Hotchkiss, and it says, I'm selling the little cabin, and he said, I want people I'm sending this letter to everybody on Maple Street. Whoever wants it, I'll sell it to them for $40,000. And I go, and Gary goes, he looked at me, don't even think about it. And I says, Gary, think about it,
Yep.
And so that night we got a hold of the kids and had them come over and look at it. And Gary thought, they're never going to go for this, because it was just a shack.
It was
a shack, a bad shack.
Yep.
And anyway, the kids said, yeah, this is good, and Gary's going, oh no. So anyway, that was Gary's last project, but he did a heck of a job on it. He did. It's really cute.
It is.
Yeah, that's how the little cabin came to be. And
I know you had touched on Grandpa got diagnosed with what, if you don't mind, tell me kind of what led up to that and what what made Grandpa find out he was sick. And
he'd gone to the doctor, and at that time, she was kind of pushing colonoscopies.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I guess she must have talked to him a couple times about it. And no. And so finally he says, okay. So anyway, he had the colonoscopy and found out it was cancerous. And yeah.
Were you in the hospital with him when he found out, or?
Yes, because we had to go to another department, and once they found out there was a problem, and then they did a more thorough examination, and found out it was. Yeah.
What was your feelings right when you found that out?
Sick, just sick, and just, how your stomach just kind of drops, and just, yeah.
What was Grandpa, what was his reaction to it?
He didn't say much. Just is what it is, I guess. So many, years and treatment, and and then it just wasn't meant to be. And
do you remember when you told your kids? Do you remember when they told, or you told them, or did Grandpa tell them?
I think everybody? Barb was with us the whole, step of the way. So I don't remember the actual. It's kind of a blur. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah, it's not easy though. Yeah. Going
through all the treatments and everything, was Grandpa's spirits like going through that? I know he was.
He just took everything in stride,
he did.
And he'd tease the doctors, and the doctors would tease him, and just, and the one way I describe cancer, it's an up and down roller coaster, because you'll have a good checkup, and then maybe have 3 or 4 good checkups, and then all of a sudden you'll have a bad checkup, and then things will get a little better, and then bad again, and then it came to the point when I just says there's no more we can do. So
Yeah.
yeah, so then that's when hospice got involved, and yeah.
What do you remember those last few moments with Grandpa?
You know, it was, as you remember, we were all there, and
Mhm.
it was bad. It was, you know, I think it went on for an hour
Mm-hmm.
where he just
I'll
would
never
kinda
forget
gasp and
driving up from, I was at school, and I drove up from UNI, and I'll never forget, I was greeted by Mark Hicks at the front door, and he said, "Go say goodbye to your grandpa." And
yeah, yep. But
we went in there, and he just smiled. That's all he did was smile.
it's
But
tough.
we were all together.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, so,
Hated to lose him, but I also, it was time. It
Yep.
was time. He couldn't do any more, you know, and none of us could take any more.
Right.
And
It wasn't him.
It was a blessing when he finally went, and that sounds horrible, but when you watch somebody suffer for so long,
yep.
and you know it's, and he, you know, and he was such a great man that, you know, he always put up a front. He always, you know, oh, I'm
Yep.
okay, I'm okay, and you know he
And
wasn't.
he always smile, and yep.
Oh yeah.
He always did, yep. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And like we talked to Sam about, and how the people that didn't get to meet him, how special he was, and how he would have loved everybody, and now the great grandkids, and they would have had a blast with him, and
Yeah.
popping his teeth out at him and everything. They would have loved that, and they would have found that so
Oh my
funny.
gosh,
and-
I haven't thought about that in years, but it just, yeah. But, you know, and how he loved the babies, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, and Michelle says that every once in a while. She'll have something on Facebook about, oh, wouldn't Grandpa love this? And
Mhm.
he would thoroughly be loving it.
Yes.
And I think he's looking down and he sees
Oh, yeah.
what's going on.
He knows.
He knows.
He's there still, and yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but after Grandpa passed, and what was that like adjusting to being now by yourself?
Oh boy, it was just it was an adjustment, that's for sure. It's and that's where Ozzy comes in, because I got Ozzy for Grandpa's last birthday,
Yep.
and I didn't know how much I was going to need him, and I always tell people that was a godsend, because it was coming up on Gary's last birthday, which was December 18th, and this was like the 12th, and I thought, what am I going to get him for his birthday? Because he wasn't getting out at that time, and you know, what do you get somebody that, you know, and a dog came to mind, and we hadn't had a dog since the kids were little, you know, and I thought, where did that come from, you know, and anyway, long story short, I went and did some shopping that morning, and I went out to the Humane Society, and I walked around all the dogs, and here's Ozzy sitting there, and I thought, oh, you are so cute. And he was about a year old, I think, at that time. And he looked at me, and all the other dogs were like, take me, you know, barking and everything right up to... He turned around and went back to the back of the cage. Didn't like... I don't want you, you know.
Yeah.
And I walked around to all the other dogs, you know, and then I came back to him, and then he came up to me, and so then I thought, oh, he's got to be the one. Well, of course, then you got to make a resume why you want the dog, you
Yep.
know, and you know, do you have a fenced-in yard and all this and that, and so anyway, I thought, well, I don't know if I'll get it or not, and so. I was at one of the kids' concerts on Saturday up at the mall. It was around Christmas time. And I said to Barb, I says, you might have to help me. And she says, what? And I says, well, I might be getting a dog.
She's, "Your what?" But anyway, got the dog, and I was able to get him. We took him to Barb and Todd's and gave him a bath because he was really dirty. And so we took him and brought him in the house, and Gary looked at it and, "You got me a dog?" But anyway,
Little did he
I
know.
didn't know how much I was going to need this dog, you know. So really, he's helped to bring me out of a lot of tough
Yep.
times. But then I did the hospice volunteering thing for, suppose maybe a year, and then I thought, oh, this isn't enough, you know. So anyway, I started riding along at church with on the bus, and anyway, the bus driver Dave, he says, "Dutch, you ought to do this. You ought to get your license and do this." And I kind of thought, okay. So I did. I got my license. Well, then it's about the same time I put in for the city, and once I got my CDL, then I was hired.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So I'm still doing that. So, but it's 6 hours a day. It gets me out of the house, and
Right.
yeah, it's
You get to
really been
interact
good.
with people. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's never a dull moment. Sometimes with
Never
some
a
of the
dull
people.
moment. Yeah, people are people. You
Well,
just
good.
gotta, try and remember, that maybe they've had a bad day or whatever.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
it-
Comes full circle now, having you two kids that are in law enforcement that deal with kind of the same. And yeah,
we know a lot of the same people.
right? I bet you guys do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good deal. Was there anything else you can remember right now, Grandma, or anything that we didn't touch on?
I want the great grandkids to know that, always be kind, put your faith first, because you never know when you have those hard times that you really need it.
Mm-hmm.
You really need your faith, and just be kind to people and be good citizens.
Yep.
And remember another thing, that freedom is not free. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're super excited to be able to pass this along to everybody and do this. So.